This thing that he's doing where he's pretending that he's a woman is very smart.
It really don't make a difference if you say he or she to me.
Some psychopath can just pretend that they're a woman and knock women over on the court.
I gotta check this out. Norman's a fucking woman, dude.
I bet.
It's a giant dude who's just dominating these chicks. So the more controversy there is, the more people do come to see them. The crazy thing about the WNBA, imagine if the NBA had the same sexual dynamic. Imagine if the most of the team was a bunch of gay dudes who were like very aggressive and black.
Welcome back to the Clark Update, WNBA fans. Today we are breaking down a story that has sparked massive controversy and triggered some incredibly heated reactions across the entire basketball world. Joe Rogan is now sitting right at the center of a growing WNBA debate, with Brittney Griner, Sophie Cunningham, and the league itself all being dragged directly into this conversation. Serious claims, heavy criticism, and passionate opinions are spreading fast. But what is really behind all this? So, without wasting another second of your time, let us jump straight into the details and break it all down. The most prominent personalities in sports media are completely tearing down the WNBA's double standards on national TV, and the league executive staff is in a panic as they face a major ideological crossroads. If you are enjoying this content, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, over 73% of viewers have not subscribed yet. It is completely free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us.
If you can't define what a woman is, then you're an idiot. And this is nonsense. And that's what your ideology is. Your ideology is so stupid, you can't define the difference between a male and a female. And so you've decided that people identifying with something means it's a real thing. And you have to say it because everybody else says it. And they scare you and they'll cancel you and go after you. So everyone's agreed to nonsense. So this is where we painted ourselves into this dumb
sparking a fierce public debate that stretches all the way from major podcast studios to mainstream news networks. Now, Brittney Griner is adding her own voice to this debate over transgender athletes. She is a major WNBA star, openly slamming the push to ban biological men from competing against biological women. So, when someone like Brittney Griner says, actually, I'm going to fight for men to play in women's sports, it is just another tough blow against so many young female athletes. But they have painted themselves into a corner because if they do not let the guy in, it looks bad, but if they do, he is just going to dunk on everyone. Well, the bottom line is, can you actually define what a woman is? Because if you cannot define what a woman is, then you are a total idiot. During a highly heated episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, host Joe Rogan took aim at the sports establishment, arguing that these major organizations have put themselves in a highly ridiculous situation where they are now completely unable to even describe what a woman is. Rogan laid out some stark, brutal truths. One of the things that made Joe Rogan, a highly prominent podcaster, wake up to this entire issue was the fact that he is a former MMA fighter. And when Joe Rogan literally saw biological males transitioning to female, beating the absolute hell out of biological females in the ring, he started to ask himself, what are we even doing here? What are we actually doing? Like, why are we standing around cheering this on? If you dare say anything like, look, trans women are not actually women, there are men who identify as women, which is fine, but there is a clear biological distinction that protects women in sports, and that is chromosomes. We know XX chromosome means you are a woman, XY means you are a dude. Do it that way. Call yourself whatever the hell you want, but if you actually want to play in the WNBA, you simply have to have XX. Highlighting the facts of how fundamental genetics completely underlies our biological reality. XX chromosomes are for women, and XY is for men. He cautioned that permitting biological males to compete in female sports totally undermines the essential safeguards that Title IX was designed to offer. Does the WNBA not have a serious responsibility to ensure that there is fair play across the league, though? I do not know if playership is a real word for college sports, and the WNBA too. 100%. I mean, I do not think it is ever okay for guys to be playing in girls' sports, but if this is actually true, then she was basically the origin of this entire epidemic. It is mostly big, black, gay ladies and a few scared-looking Sophie Cunninghams who feel the need to point fingers at people. Imagine people thinking you are sexually attracted, and they make it a reality show. It has basically become like the Real Housewives. They're all just fighting now, which is the only real reason you even watch. But it is an interesting sexual dynamic. Joe Rogan brought serious attention to the contentious political climate within the WNBA during that conversation, specifically highlighting how outspoken and common sense stars like Sophie Cunningham really are, forced to stand up and defend biological reality against league narratives that completely disregard fundamental science. You are going to have a tremendous platform out there, but where exactly is that going to be on your radar in terms of advocating for all athletes, including transgender athletes, to be able to play? Oh, I mean, that ranks pretty high on the list of things that I will be actively fighting for and speaking out against. At the end of the day, everyone deserves the right to play. The WNBA's Brittney Griner is a man. That is not a woman, and that is not a female. That is not even a trans person. That is a man. Brittney Griner is, in fact, a man. When WNBA veteran Brittney Griner publicly jumped into this national discussion, the tension and animosity only grew deeper. Brittney Griner went on camera to declare that everyone has the right to participate in women's sports, vowing to use her massive platform to actively support trans athletes while calling out continued attempts to keep biological men from participating. It really does not make any difference if you say he or she. To me, when I am out in public, my teammates sometimes get really upset if someone calls me a he, but I honestly just do not care. We will sit down to get some food, and the waiter will be like, "Sir, what do you want?" And I will just say, "Yeah, let me get the steak, medium well, thank you." When I am going through TSA security, if the guy pats me down so I can go through, I am completely cool with it. I do not need people running over and yelling, "No, she is a girl." It just makes things awkward when I am trying to get through. Honestly, whoever can pat me down the fastest is fine. I do not care. I have had the exact opposite happen too, where someone says it is against the rules and a guy cannot pat me down, so a woman has to do it. And then she walks up and just stares at me, looking at my chest, scanning me up and down, looking at my chest again while trying to check my ID, making the whole situation super awkward. Or they will ask, "Are you really a girl?" No, I am not. Her remarks were widely criticized by major news networks right away. Author Douglas Murray openly denounced Brittney Griner's remarks, calling them a devastating blow to thousands of dedicated female athletes nationwide, pointing out that her stance deliberately undermines young women who are vying for fair podiums, college scholarships, and hard-earned roster spots. Everyone deserves the right to play. So, she has now weighed in on this, and she has got a massive voice. I suppose it is pretty lucky that Brittney Griner is not just starting out. Because if these were the actual rules when she was first starting out, then, the whole thing might be completely different. The problem we have in America right now is that there is actually a distinct lack of women defending women in the public square on issues like this. And honestly, that is not the case in every other country. For instance, if you look at my own country of origin, Britain, there have been some very prominent women, not just in sports, but across all political and social platforms, who have actively objected to precisely this issue. Murray noted that several years ago, after watching biological males dominate and physically subjugate female rivals in combat sports, even Joe Rogan realized the underlying danger of this problem. While Brittney Griner's remarks were praised by radical activist groups, female athletes have stepped up to lead a major counter-protest. Sports legends like tennis icon Martina Navratilova and two-time Olympian Sharon Davies have stepped up to strongly criticize Brittney Griner's stance, pointing out that unfair biological competition has already cost nearly 14,000 female athletes their opportunities and led to worse finishing positions. Martina Navratilova made it clear that activists must respect the biological boundaries that safeguard women's spaces and stop trying to redefine feminism. However, league executives and loud activists continue to push these divisive agendas that alienate the vast majority of basketball fans, in spite of the overwhelming backlash from mainstream fans and sports icons. A woman finally decided to stand up for women and female spaces. And that very woman is now getting roasted by other women just because she does not support transgender athletes in female spaces. Sophie Cunningham, who a lot of you probably recognize from this very video, recently got herself into hot water because she had the audacity to say that women and girls should be protected. Yes, we are talking about WNBA star Sophie Cunningham, who plays guard for the Indiana Fever. When a recent ESPN feature quoted her opposition to biological men competing in women's sports, she made it clear she wants to protect young girls both on the court and in the locker room, calling her position kind of common sense, and it has everything to do with reality. The WNBA leadership is in a very difficult situation right now because of this conflict between corporate philosophy and common sense. While brave athletes like Sophie Cunningham take a chance on public criticism just to protect the integrity of women's sports, individuals like Griner persist in promoting these tales that incite strong public indignation. Deep divisions within the league have been clearly shown by this wide disparity between players who defend the truth and others who hide behind corporate phrases. However, when that media narrative first started to spiral way out of control, suddenly Griner's own background came right back into the forefront because of viral online investigations and resurfaced evidence, creating an explosive issue that league officials are frantically and desperately trying to ignore. This jersey used to represent someone that I respected as an athlete. Today, it represents something that I just can't support anymore. Sports definitely have the power to bring people together, but when someone uses their platform to demonize or marginalize an already vulnerable community, I simply have to decide where I stand. So I am burning my support. As a trans woman, I have spent years fighting just to exist authentically. I will never understand how these people think this is some sort of a win for their side. I mean, I am literally begging you people to be normal. Despite that monumental freakout, Sophie Cunningham didn't back down, which we really love to see. These viral conversations on major media platforms have forced the WNBA front office to try and limit the damage as public scrutiny hits an all-time high. A team of analysts on the popular commentary program Valuetainment recently examined these leaked video clips, revived media footage and internet rumors about Griner's past, while emphasizing the complete silence from major sports networks about her long time in Russian captivity. Brittney Griner, yes, the WNBA's very own Brittney Griner is in fact a man. Brittney, let me see something real quick. Brick, thank you. Get the blanking dam. Unbelievable. Jab, stepping on the brick. It is very clearly Brittney. I ain't gonna figure it out. They called him or her by their name. And as you can very clearly see in this clip, his bare chest is completely exposed. While private athletic organizations can try to promote whatever narratives they want to choose, taxpayer-funded sports and educational opportunities must strictly uphold biological fairness. According to the analyst who highlighted the obvious double standards in how legacy sports outlets cover these contentious league topics, the panel further clarified that basic biological characteristics such as her lung capacity, bone density, and raw muscle power offer male athletes an indisputable physical edge over female competitors, which ultimately makes biological limitations in sports non-negotiable. The reason why the WNBA was losing money and fighting for mainstream relevance is made very clear indeed by this uncontrolled media circus. Again, it is all about cultural power. This is why the WNBA is not going to go away. This issue is not going to go away. They are in such a bad position here. Caitlin Clark, they have cultural power, and people love them. People are buying tickets who would otherwise never care about the WNBA. There is a reason why people call Sophie Cunningham MAGA Barbie, and fans are starting to fill the arenas to watch her and Caitlin Clark. And she is not apologizing for saying that there should be no men in this women's sport. It has caused an absolute crisis, and people are truly losing their minds. Caitlin Clark is an absolute all-star. Honestly, she is the Michael Jordan of this game. This is the exact girl that girls have been waiting for forever. Caitlin Clark is a rising star in women's basketball, and she is pulling in some crazy viewership numbers. These women spent $1,000 on tickets to attend the Indiana Fever versus Atlanta Dream game specifically to see Sophie before the generational great Caitlin Clark joined the league decades ago. The sport was radically changed almost overnight. She broke viewing records and filled arenas all over the country and gave women's basketball a previously unheard of commercial significance. Millions of true sports enthusiasts flocked to the stadium to witness Caitlin Clark's thrilling play style and her amazing shooting range and her unadulterated love of basketball, demonstrating that spectators choose highly elite basketball rather than forced political theater. However, league management and activist pundits consistently let these contentious culture disputes overwhelm the game, rather than fully preserving and honoring Caitlin Clark's historic significance. This thing that he is doing where he is pretending that he is a woman is actually very smart. It really does not make any difference whether you say he or she to me. Some psychopath can just pretend that they are a woman and knock other women over on the court. I have got to check this out. Norman is a woman, dude. I mean, we are talking about a giant dude just out there dominating these girls. So, the more controversy there is, the more people are coming out to watch them play. Here is the crazy thing about the WNBA. Just imagine if the NBA had that exact same sexual dynamic going on. Imagine if the majority of the team was just a bunch of gay dudes who were highly aggressive and black. Now, while the WNBA is suddenly pulling in more public attention than ever before, Joe Rogan pointed out on his show that by putting radical posturing ahead of Caitlin Clark's genuine fan base, the league's leadership runs the risk of utterly squandering this truly fantastic opportunity. The vast majority of sports fans who just want fair competition and real athletic greatness are represented by players like Sophie Cunningham. These are athletes who stand up to defend their colleagues and promote biological common sense. And in the meantime, the individuals who advocate for the erasure of biological boundaries, like Brittney Griner, are becoming more and more alienated from everyday Americans who respect the basic integrity of sports. In the end, these corporate double standards, ineffective executive leadership, and forced political agendas in women's basketball are starting to wear out true sports fans. Look, standing up for biological reality is simply not a radical position. As brave athletes like Sophie Cunningham and Martina Navratilova have clearly shown us, doing this is essential for protecting the future of women's sports. The WNBA executive staff needs to embrace the common sense majority and stop appeasing these vocal activist groups and fully back real superstars like Caitlin Clark if this league actually hopes to safeguard its future. What is your own take on Joe Rogan slamming the WNBA versus Brittney Griner's own stance? Do you support Sophie Cunningham and her efforts to promote biological justice in women's sports? Go ahead and share your own thoughts in the comment section provided down below. Make sure to share this video with other basketball fans, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel.